All right. That's the wrong window. All right. That's the wrong window.
There is some repetition of your
Yeah.
sound.
This is the thing that I experience every time I stream this meeting. So what basically happens is um, I embed the future live stream in the Matrix channel, an element right on the
Hmm.
side, and then when the stream starts, that automatically starts playing, and I need to hunt down the tab in which it is playing.
Gotcha.
Stop it. Um, yeah. Other than that, it's not much
Cool.
of a problem. All right. The Okay, so there should be a agenda shared.
Yeah, you can see.
Perfect. Okay. Then let's get started. Hello, everybody. This is the November issue of the Flatcar office hours. This is our user-centric meeting. We have the developer sync in 2 weeks from now, which is more development centered, where we organize development work. That is not the focus today. Today, it's for users to say hi and speak up. And we have a few user-centric news as well. To kick off the meeting, let's make a brief intro round of folks that are new in the meeting. I see a lot of regulars here from the Flatcar maintainers team, but I also see Vipul. Vipul, you want to step forward and briefly introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello, folks. Hi. Hope my mic is working. I don't see the notification. There you go. Um, I'm joining the Flatcar meeting for the first time, hoping to talk to you folks about something I'm trying to do and listening in on the updates that are there today.
You came to the right place. Thank you. Looking forward to your take. All right, let's briefly cover the distro news and the other news that we have today, and then listen to Vipul and the news that he wants to share. All right, so see, if you're watching the recording right now, chances are that you we're still using the old slot, which is 1 hour later. We did the switch to just prevent confusion with daylight saving time, and particularly this meeting was bound to European daylight saving. So for the US folks, it was even weirder because their daylight saving time is a week behind the Europe one. So it just wiggled back and forth on the calendar, and we just wanted to put an end to it. So it's now UTC as it should be, and that's like the big change. It's this one and the developer sync as well. All right, distro news. We have some news regarding our sysext work. Heading over to Kai. Kai, can you give a brief overview?
Hello. Yeah, so we had this topic come up more often in the past. So now, instead of tackling the OEM updates with system-sysext, we replaced talks in Flatcar, which is a component that was used to swap out Docker and Containerd to provide a different version from that that OS ships by default. So in the past, users could use talks to like build their own talks image and then use that instead of the default talks image to bring in a particular Docker version they want to run. And since this is somehow what system-sysext does anyway, we decided to deprecate talks, and it makes it a bit nicer to use because system-sysext images are overlaid over /usr and get much tighter integration to the OS through this, and will feel like a regular OS software in the end compared to what talks had done with workarounds. And so now in alpha, the next alpha, you won't find talks anymore, but only system-sysext, and we bring a inbuilt Docker and Containerd system sysext image, so they are split into two. That means you can easily disable, for example, Docker if you don't run Docker, and then still keep the inbuilt containerd from Flatcar for auto updates. Of course, if you want to ship your own version, we have this repository, SysX Bakery, where you can build your own Docker or combined Docker and containerd SysX images, and you can also consume the ones we directly bundle from upstream Docker release binaries. So that's for the talks announcement for the next alpha. And for OEM updates with SysX, yeah, as I said, that was the topic in the past, but it's not completely done yet. We still have to port over GCP, but the rest is already ported over. And for alpha and beta, you will have OEM updates for all the OEMs except GCP. Okay, so I guess that's it, right? Do you want to continue, Thilo, with the Docker update?
Yeah. Thanks for the update, Kai. That's actually quite a big step. And Torix was quite a piece of legacy software and tooling, so we're very happy it's gone. The image, as Kai mentioned, is way easier to extend now. So for even major changes, you don't need to build your own images. That SysX stuff is already amazing. So yeah. Going ahead and talking about the big Docker update, let me actually share the respective snippet of the release notes that will be part of the next alpha. So we're updating Docker to version 24. And that's a pretty big jump from Docker 20 to 24. We have various scenario tests in place to catch all of the bumps and hiccups that come with that, and we're pretty confident the update will go seamless for users. We encountered a few hiccups while updating, but we were able to wrap all of them. So this is going to hit the next alpha. One of the more significant changes is that some of the storage backends are being deprecated. And previously, those storage backends did some auto detection magic in order to pick the right storage backend. For instance, if your Docker storage was formatted ButterFS, and that's basically the place where Docker stores its images and container snapshots. So on disk, if that storage was ButterFS, then Docker automatically used the ButterFS storage driver. If you still want to use that storage driver on newly provisioned instances, you need to explicitly configure it via Docker's daemon JSON configuration file. If you're upgrading from an instance that is using ButterFS storage, nothing needs to change. Docker will auto-detect that. And so you won't notice a thing. Docker will continue using ButterFS. However, in the long term, it's probably a good idea to move away from ButterFS to the default overlay 2 storage driver, just because upstream deprecated it, and at some future point, it'll be removed entirely. So that's the big thing. And it's only hitting alpha. We will make a lot of noise about that, obviously. So people test the respective betas when they come out, report back issues so we can fix everything. And stable will be even more seamless. Right. Yeah. Back to Kai again for some amazing work on the USR partition.
Yeah, so we ship a 1 GB partition for /USR, and that's kind of set in stone. It has been like that for 10 years now, and we won't change this because, yeah, it's a way of making sure that even old instances can still update. And since binary bloat means that, yeah, things are just growing and we can't do anything against that, we search for a solution, and the obvious one is compression. And now we switched over from the custom X2 setup that was used before to BetterFS. I mean, it's a read-only image, right? It's really just for delivering these things, and they are read and not written to. But the nice thing with BetterF is that we have a compression option, and that was easy to enable for us. So that's what we did now. In the future, we might also switch to SquashFS or something else, but for that, we first need to roll out support for mounting these images in the old LTS versions and so on, and that's not there currently. That's why either we wait and try to prepare this, or we could also change Nebraska to announce for older versions and intermediate versions they should update to first, and then only they would update to something like SquashFS and so on. Yeah. So currently it's BetterFS because it's there for even older Flatcar versions. Yeah. So that's a change.
Awesome, and it basically gave us, I think, 4 or 5 times more space that we had before. So that's pretty amazing. Operating system binaries are down to, I think, 400 megabytes of the gigabyte partition.
Yeah, so currently we are down to like 50%, roughly 40
Awesome.
something.
Lots of headroom. Thanks for this. All right. Lastly, I played around with some project insights, and we're now generating a monthly contributions report. This is something that will be closer looked at the developer sync because it had really more insights for the dev sync than the more user-centric office hours. So we're looking at like new contributors, but also what's more interesting, basically issue metrics, new issues that have been cut in the last month, issues that have been closed. And there are some amazing things, particularly with the talks deprecation, like and the OEM vendor updates. Like we closed an issue that was open for 1,300 days because we finally implemented OEM updates. So someone will be very happy out there. So this is done using 2 GitHub actions, which I really learned to like. One's called contributors and the other's called issue metrics. They're pretty easy to work into your own GitHub action to generate those nice reports that I just showed. And we'll probably use that in the future in a more elaborate way. Right now, it's way more basic. And with that said, I'm done with the distro news, and I'll stop sharing my screen and give the word to Vipul. Vipul, what do you want to share about your work in Flatcar?
Matthew's hand was up, so maybe he wanted to speak.
Oh, sorry. Didn't notice. Matthew?
You're muted.
Mm-hmm.
Just a quick question regarding the contribution statistics. There is the total contribution, so one contribution equals one commit, or it's one comment, one issue open? What's defined a contribution?
Everything that is interacting with the project is a contribution. So it's a pretty wide interpretation. And currently, the tooling that we're using doesn't really allow narrowing it down. But if there's a PR, for instance, then that PR is referenced. Like you have a link to that PR. But like if you comment on an issue or if you resolve something, that also is a contribution to the project.
Okay.
Yeah, at first I thought it's basically like amount of changes line because some numbers goes into thousands.
Yeah,
Like,
that's it's not. By the way, it's not a scoreboard, right? It is just an overview. So there's no competition here.
yeah, but I was just wondering like how these contributions are being counted because there are like 22 and there's like 2,000. So how this is all counted? I hope that it isn't that one line change is as valuable as a one comment in the issue or something like that.
Yeah, no, it's more like it's more kind of a way to give you a pulse of a project, and to notice even smaller contributions and smaller changes. So yeah, it's a pretty wide definition. The upstream GitHub action that is actually linked in the agenda has a more detailed overview of what a contributor is and what a contribution is.
Yep. Okay.
Thanks for the question. Sorry for not noticing you.
No worries.
Okay, over to Vipul.
Thank you. I just wanted to come into the call to say hi and sort of talk about something that I discussed during Open Source Summit Vancouver when I met Matthew. And now that I realize I should have talked to Matthew more about how we can do like some more work with Flatcar. But I work in a company called Belina, and for the last 4 years, and we've been building sort of a testing framework or a testing system to test operating systems directly on hardware. That's something I gave a talk about. That's something I've been working for, and it's completely open source. And Sen and I know each other for some time through PyCon. So we've been chatting the last time we met, and I thought like maybe we can talk to the team here, see if there is some potential where Flatcar could check this out, use this. And I've been looking into Cola. Sorry, is it the animal or is it? Yeah, it's Cola. So I've been looking into that. I've set it up. It's running the QEMU test right now. Good props to you for having good documentation for testing frameworks. Usually, things internally are not that good for testing, but I was able to get it running, and it looks very similar to how we do it as well. Because for Balena OS, it's a very similar operating system as Flatcar. It's a it's a container Linux for embedded boards, and we target a lot of ARM boards, Raspberry Pi, BeagleBones, Jetsons, Intel NUCs. And as I was talking to Sayan as well, I thought Flatcar is also looking to move towards supporting more ARM infrastructure. So I feel like having something for the OS teams to say that, yeah, it is this one. Yeah. So having something for the OS teams to confidently release an operating system that is actually tested on the actual hardware is something that we have been able to do it for ourselves. And since it's open source, I've been reaching out to a lot of other people in the OS teams. Also, this Linux Plumbers conference that was happening. I had a open session there, but since I'm sitting here, I didn't go. It's happening today only. So this is something I have been talking about to a lot of people in the Elisa project, in Red Hat, in SUSE, and how other companies have been doing hardware in the loop testing, which is this. A lot of the time it's proprietary, a lot of the time it's not documented. And that's what we have been trying to do, seeing if we can use the thing that we have built for other people, other companies as well, and improve the system as well as a whole. So I can start with the presentation. I can give you some links to check out, but I was thinking of doing on a personal level. I'm doing uh, the test that you have written right now for Cola is like very good. And I've been looking into that and how we can integrate it into the current system that is there. So I feel like what I can do right now is my task right now is to run the tests that you have written, the Go tests that are there on Cola, to run it on an actual device for the ARM64 release is what I'm trying to test. So I've already got an ARM64 test set up. I have my AutoKit hardware. And for folks who are sort of want to get an idea of how it is, these are the slides you can check out. My presentation was all about explaining like how the system is working at scale, what is the actual infrastructure requirement, like commitment, because it does take quite a bit of resources. It will take actual hardware you will be testing on. It will actually take team collaboration, but once it's set up, it frees you up on the uncertainty that, hey, the operating system that we have built, will it run on an actual device? When every PR gets tested on an actual device, and it's like the feedback is getting from the right environment, from the right OS releases, from the right libraries, right packages being used directly where they will be used. It has helped us a lot to support like 100 plus devices now. So I'm coming here as like an individual contributor to see if something that we have worked on could be helpful for others. Because this thing specifically, like hardware in the loop testing, is very proprietary. A lot of the teams build it for themselves. A lot of the people build testing frameworks in the OS fields themselves, don't document it that much. And then everyone reinvents the wheel. So we have been working towards breaking that a little bit, see if we can make a right step. And Flatcar is the right one to go with, like sort of get this system tested, because container Linux and a container Linux. So yeah, that's it.
And do you have some getting started or stuff like that to
Yes.
have a look?
I do quite a bit of documentation. So here's the test for our documentation. Here's you go. We also provide like a QEMU setup guide. So you can start with the quick start for QEMU, and you can get a first test running right away with a couple of dependencies. If you have the hardware needed, you can set up the hardware. You can buy everything yourself. We included no custom parts, so you can buy everything from something like a Pi Hut or any embedded devices store, and you can set up your own kit to test Flatcar, which is what I'm doing right now. So we build the system for ourselves, obviously. So quite a bit of assumptions that we have taken is okay. What does Baleno OS need, and we have done that. So I've been looking into what Flatcar needs to get provisioned, gets flashed, and seeing if all those steps are there. If it's not there, then some code has to be written or something has to be done. But otherwise, I think it should work fairly well. Here's how like tests look like. Something that we have been working for ourselves is this is the quick start guide for QEMU. As I'm looking for Cola's test guide, getting started guide is right now our system isn't capable of having another framework. So I'm doing a bit of hacking around to see if we can just get Cola to run on a hardware, basically hardware test. Uh, so right now, if you start this, it will be just Leviathan test running, and you can start Baleno OS tests as well. But yeah, that's the answer for that.
Awesome. Thanks for the intro. That sure is interesting. In more general terms, what's also pretty interesting is we've had touch points with a number of larger test suites over the past. Like Lisa is another one that basically tries to solve the same problem. And the things we've been like brainstorming about, there isn't really any work in any direction, but you know, if this test framework would kind of offer something where you can, you know, talk to its sideboards and then use it like an API to orchestrate your classes that are supported by that respective framework, and have that as some kind of meta layer inside of Cola, then you could basically put Cola on top of the other framework, and yeah, benefit from all of the tests that we already have in Cola, which most of are very high level. So those are scenario orchestration stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that would be interesting. We've been looking into something for Lisa, and it needs to be like a clear definition of that API, which Cola would then be interfacing to. Like the general stuff, basically, which image to boot, and then, you know, cluster
Which
orchestration.
image to flash, how to turn it on, how to turn it off. Yeah.
Exactly. And for cloud scenario tests in particular, like how to pass user data to the respective instances, which we use in many tests to just do basic setup. But down the road, yeah, it would be very interesting. So this way, you wouldn't only win Flatcar as an operating system to be tested. You'll also immediately benefit from hundreds of scenario tests that we already have, and that do crazy stuff like, I don't know, provision a whole Kubernetes cluster and put a CNI on that and then run tests on that. Just one of many. And this is where much of the value for Cola is for us. So if we could support that test framework, or even like a generic API as like, just like we would support one more cloud vendor, that would be amazing. I think that would be a good direction to
There
take.
you go. No? Yeah. Something. So this is something we have thought about it as well. We are not reinventing in a way where we are trying to force a testing framework or testing methodology on you or anyone, not Flatcar specifically. We want to enable hardware in the loop testing, and what that entails is you bring your tests, you bring your infrastructure, you bring your scenario, and we help you run it on the device.
Perfect. Yeah, that would be.
So for Cola, I was very happy to see like a container image that has Cola set up. We'll just take that container image of yours, set it up, give it tests, give it artifacts, and give it a configuration or a slight bit of, hey, here's the test run going to be. And then just we hit run. And basically, our API is something called an AutoKit. So the presentation that you can see has like a good explainer on what an AutoKit is. It's basically a host or a control device that can control your DUT entirely, which is your device under test.
Mhm.
And here, the AutoKit sort of takes control of all the interfaces that a Raspberry Pi or an Intel NUC that you have. And let's say you want HDMI connections. Let's say you want to see GPIO. Let's say you want to see Ethernet work or not. Or if something like, let's say, I think you had an update script as well. Let's say we cut off power to the device during an update process. Can Flatcar recover? That sort of scenarios are very nice, very crucial for embedded use case, for cloud native use cases as well, to test literally on the device. Like uh, the situations we all deal with, it's like these things can't fail, the operating system as well as the hardware. So I was talking to Philip Edman from Elisa project, and then Sasha Levin from the Linux maintainers team. Uh, both of the people said like the framework is a reinvention of the wheel, but it's a much more complete one where you have all the tools together to do it. So this is something that we provide, at least with the API that you mentioned, right? Some API that you can use in Cola to interface with the hardware is what we are providing. That is the most simpler way, which is what I'm saying is I might rewrite some of the Cola test to run commands on the AutoCAD, on the DUT itself. And that's what I'm thinking to do. Yeah. That way you just run Cola or anything in a container onto your DUT, which is also a container OS running Flatcar, running everything. So
Yeah, that's nice direction to take. Let's explore that together. I see Kai has a comment in the chat as well on a manual mode that Cola supports, which might help you with connecting the two.
nice. Yeah, there is an issue. Like we I've hit that road block before. The thing is, Balena or just the methodology there is everything gets written in Node.js. So as the API as well, but we have thought about it for other people, especially OS teams. So we have already created a server that you can interface. So right now it will be the matter of sending Go HTTP requests to an AutoCAD server running right next to your Cola container, and that's how I'm writing my tests. So, but I understand like the manual mode would be very nice actually. Uh, and I've been thinking about how Flatcar gets flashed as well, because that's the most important part. So some of the more MVP sort of features that we have done is control over the device is one. Definitely you can run absolutely anything on it. We don't limit people because we give you a direct SSH connection to the DUT, and it's any OS command you would run on a QEMU, you can run on a device as well. And the second thing that I feel is very nice is you don't even have to know about flashing procedures again and again. So let's say we support Raspberry Pi 5 now. So you will just write this.autokit.flash, and you're now flashing the AutoKit using the Flatcar Linux image. The AutoKit will have common instructions for flashing OSs onto devices. So let's say the Intel NUC has a different flashing process. So you can have that as well. And that way it removes a lot of complexity from the system in terms of testing. And for the test writer, which is you folks, you will have a nice time writing one test framework that will target all the devices. When and if you will go into like supporting a Raspberry Pi or supporting an Intel NUC or a Jetson board or something like that, that will be very helpful. One framework to test all the boards. So yeah, but yeah, the QEMU implementation for Cola is very nice as well. We also support Leviathan with QEMU, but I think let's just stick to what Cola has done. So I'm going to be focusing only on doing just getting a test to run on a hardware. Do you have a recommendation of like a test suite or a test package? I think is your terminology that I should be. That will be the simplest one. I can just test that out, um, and like make it a demo and then maybe present that or send it to you.
I think cl.basic is probably
Okay.
like this has some basic like does
Should have
this
assumed
like,
that.
does this user exist, or is this writable? Is this read only? So very, very simple test, and it's usually super fast. In QE mode, should run in seconds.
We are also often using CL internet just to make sure that the internet connection actually works.
Right.
Like we have we have those alternative platforms or machines that we test, and so we are running all the tests on the primary machine, but for this extra machine we are just running CL internet just to make sure that the machine has booted, there's an internet connection to it, SSH works. So CL internet is also one of the tests that we are running.
When you mentioned,
I was also going to say the same. CL internet is one of the tests which you can try to run. But in general, I would say most of the tests are in QEMU are fast, so the test suite does not take a lot of time. So maybe you can give one try to see how much time it takes to run the complete one.
Yeah, just to mention, like this doesn't get us performance. QEMU will always be faster because it's running bare metal on the machine, and here you'll be hitting either the memory limits of something like a Pi, which has like 1 or 2 gigs of memory, and a 2. What is it? I think 1.5 gigahertz processor, ARM processor that is there. So that is definitely there, but it more than makes up for the testing on the hardware part, which gives you the certainty that this thing works. Because like working a lot with container Linux on an embedded use case, there have been situations where anything the hardware vendor does, even a little change can render, OS releases useless. And you have to test them constantly. Every single change could have cascading failures later on. So yeah, I just want a clarification when I'll use the surname. When Novak mentioned an extra machine, what did you mean by that? Like for a CL.internet?
Yeah, basically like Azure, for example, has like different kinds of machines. So, and there's like a large amount of those different kinds. So we are obviously not running on all of them. We just pick, this is the one basic for AMD 64, but this is the specific machine that I don't know, has some extra disk or whatever, or some extra features. And this is like another machine kind that we are just kicking off the build, kicking off the test on. But instead of running like everything on it, we are just making sure that the Flatcar boots and SSH works. So yeah.
So basically what we do is that in our test we have like, suppose it's Azure, so we have like suppose some d4.large instance, and then if we want to have GPU specific instances to test, or some other test instances which are maybe network or storage. So we just don't run don't run every test. We just run that CL.internet. We can specify that these are the other type of instances or category of instances. We just pick one and pass it to Cola, and it would just test CL.internet. So you can actually, because you can restrict Cola to run particular tests, so we use that feature.
Right on. Okay.
Yeah,
I've also included for a conclusion. I've also included like everything I've mentioned. We put it in a blog for folks. So this is sort of like the same presentation but as a blog, and it provides like a very nice overview of how we have done testing at Balena, and we hoped like a lot of people would come back and ask us like, hey, here's something that we do for testing as well, and we just want to get the collaboration started. At least I do. The maintainers or the contributors are the best people to talk to rather than full companies. So yeah, it's good good advice and good. Thank you for listening. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. All right. Great contribution. Happy to have you here. Let's continue with the release planning. Sayan.
Let me share my screen. Yeah. 1 minute. Is my screen visible yet?
Yes.
Okay, I'll zoom in a bit. Okay, so quickly moving on to the releases, I had a question. So we had said that, yeah, we had. Okay, so we had mentioned, so last month during the last release, we had a discussion about not doing quicker releases. So um, so we skipped the first week release for Flatcar, and we are now targeting the third week for the release, which is 20th 11. But I wanted to say, like, maybe we can for the next month, what we can do is that we can do another release towards just before the holidays, keeping enough days for people to look into if things goes wrong. So maybe somewhere around mid of December we can do the last release of the year, and then we bring back the cadence back to the first week from January again. How does that sound? So essentially what I mean is that 28, 11, 23, we have the release. And then mid of December, we have one release. And then we move back to the first week of January to do the releases. And then we stick to the cadence for doing that, for doing all the major releases once a month.
Yeah, looks good.
Okay. And so we have a couple of work that has been going on in the team, primarily focused around like the SysX work, and Kajim has been putting a good amount of effort around what do you say, weekly updates. So expect a major alpha release, beta major, and a stable minor release on 20th November. And I was looking through the in progress section. There are a few issues which have not been updated in some time. So I would request the folks to just go through the issues once. If you have any updates, just put a small update on how the progress is looking for you on that, or if there are any blocker space raised enough. But other than that, any questions do you have? I think other than that, most of the things are pretty much stable right now. Things are looking good as per plan. Any things that you want to talk about or would like to get included in the releases?
I just saw that the Docker 23 upgrade issue is still open. I gotta just silently close it because we updated to Docker 24.
Yes, I especially did not mention because we already captured that in the distro updates. But yeah, uh, so I was going through the issues. I saw a couple of images. So a couple of the issues that definitely need some updates, and hopefully we might do a bug smashing day again, maybe when we start 2024, so we can close down more issues. But any more questions or comments do you have?
I just noticed a regression in the update SSH keys, CLI flags, and either we have to revert or fix this before we branch.
Okay.
I commented on the
Anyways,
pull request. Yeah.
So I'm
Sorry.
anyways, sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Kajime.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the fix for the regression should be easy. Just just a one line or two line change, but I don't have the Rust set up or locally to propose like a pull request. So hopefully Donks will do it like soon.
Okay. One thing I wanted to mention is I'm working on to change the retention policy around GCP. So we had a policy where we had fixed number of GCP image on marketplace. Sorry, not marketplace, rather on the images that got uploaded on GCP. So I'm working on to change that. So basically I would try to complete it by the end of the week so that before our next release or branching happens, we don't face the same issues because there are a few folks who raise an issue that their images got deleted on GitHub. Yeah. Cool. I think that's all from my side. Over to Tilo.
Awesome. Thank you, Sayan. And that's pretty much a wrap. If anyone wants to share anything before we close this month's office hours, then now's your chance. All right. Thanks for joining, everybody. See you in the DevSync maybe or the next office hours. And have a great time.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.